Hi, everyone. Sure appreciated the response we got to our Ask Me Anything. A lot of great questions that you sent in through Facebook and through Instagram, and trying to answer some of them today. There was several questions that I think we got a lot of different asks about, and a few unique ones as well. So we'll start off maybe with one that seemed to be the most common question we got, is some version of what's the process, or what can be done to hold members of the government accountable. I think what it really boils down to in a democracy is we rely on the opposition, and certainly I'm a part of the official opposition, to be able to point out where the government has made mistakes, but also to point out what the government could do better, and make suggestions for things that can be improved. And that's something we strive to try and do every single day on your behalf. But of course, we also all have a responsibility in that as well. And that, when we all get the chance, of course, to vote, and we have to take that incredibly seriously, because when you don't get out and vote, of course, you get what everybody else votes for. And so it's so important that we all get out there. If you're not happy with the way things are going, get out and vote, and get out and be involved in trying to seek change. And I mean, that's the beauty of democracy. Now, is democracy perfect? No, it certainly isn't. But it's a heck of a lot better than the alternatives that we have out there. And I know it can be really frustrating sometimes. I mean, I feel it as much as anybody. When you look at the last two elections, knowing the Conservatives got more votes than the party that's in power, and you watch, a kind of a coalition government of the Liberal and NDP, and you see the money that's being spent, and thinking about the hole that we're going to have to dig ourselves out of as a result. And I know it's incredibly frustrating, but the best thing that we can all do is focus our efforts on making sure we're ready for that next election, so that we can hold that government accountable for the mistakes they've made. And hopefully, in my opinion, and I hope in yours, replace them with a government that will be more conscious of the needs of Canadians, and more conscious of making sure that we're doing things in a fiscally responsible way, and that's a Conservative government. So that would be certainly the best thing we can all do in terms of holding the government accountable. And I can tell you that I'll be doing everything I can every single day to do that job on your behalf as your representative. We had a question about veterans, and what sort of is the latest happenings in Veterans Affairs. Well, as I'm sure many of you know, this is a new role for me, being the shadow cabinet minister for Veterans Affairs, and so I've had a chance to really dig in to these issues. And I've always been someone who has had a deep respect for the service and for the sacrifices that those men and women in uniform have made on behalf of this country, and on behalf of those freedoms that we all get to enjoy. And so to be able to have the opportunity to really dig into these issues has been something that I really have appreciated the opportunity to do. And I really hope that we'll have a chance as we go forward to be able to really see significant improvements in the lives of our veterans as a result. There's been a lot of challenges, certainly, and I mean, I cannot pretend that there's ever been a government that has gotten this issue perfect. And I don't really think, no matter how much the government tries to get those things right, I don't know that you'll ever get it perfect, because we can never ever do enough for our veterans, our men and women that serve this country. They deserve everything that we can possibly do for them, and we want to always do what's right to honor them. And I think that it really comes down to that, is ensuring that you always have a government that really honors the service of our men and women that have served this country in uniform. And so, when you watch some of the things that are going on lately, whether it be the fact that we've seen a new contract for a lot of the services that are provided for veterans, but seems to have been no consultation with veterans or with the service providers that provide those services, or even the employees at Veterans Affairs themselves, it leaves a lot of confusion, and veterans don't feel they're very well served, and it builds up a distrust with the government. And then to see things like, having medical assistance in dying being offered to veterans who are calling Veterans Affairs looking for help to live their lives. And they're offered instead the opportunity to end their lives. when they're not seeking that. They're seeking, in one case we heard about, someone looking for a lift for a disability that they have. Veterans calling in that are dealing with mental health challenges and looking for help. They're crying out to the government for help, and instead being told, we could help you end your life. That's not what veterans need. They need help to live their lives. And the injuries that many of our veterans have as a result of their service, whether those be physical injuries or whether they be mental injuries, or just looking for ways to apply the skills that they have learned in their military careers and being able to apply them to the private sector. That's the kinds of things the government needs to do to make sure we can help our veterans to transition into that civilian life and do so successfully, and make sure their families are cared for. And that's what I'm here to do, is to try to make sure I hear from veterans. What are the things that we need to do to better serve you? And then hopefully when we form a government, when the Conservative government under Pierre Poilievre becomes the government in hopefully the very near future, we can put those ideas into action. That's really what it needs to be all about, is finding out what we can best do to serve our veterans and put those ideas then into policy, and so we can better the lives of our veterans. We also had Ed on Facebook ask us about immigration, and basically just asking what can be done about Canada's broken immigration system. And I think this really is one that really strikes at the heart of what we're seeing right now, the problems that we're seeing. I mean, we have a government that can't even get the very basics of what they're supposed to be doing on behalf of Canadians right. Whether it be the fact that we see these extremely lengthy queues to get applications processed in terms of immigration, whether that be reunifying a family, whether that be businesses looking for a temporary foreign worker and cannot get those things processed. And whether it be things like visas for people who want to come here, whether it be to study, to visit as tourists, or to come here on a working holiday visa, what many young people do, and that helps to fulfill a lot of the vacant jobs in our hospitality and tourism industry. Whether it be people looking just to get their passports renewed. All of these things and more are things that just the government just seems to not. All of these systems seem broken, and they're the basic core services the government provides. You have a government that can't even get those things right. How can you trust them with anything else? And so, we're obviously looking to have the opportunity to replace that government with one that does understand that we've got to get these basics right. And in the meantime, I encourage anyone who's having issues, whether it be dealing with a passport or Revenue Canada or any of the other basic services of government, reach out to my office. We have a phenomenal team here who does some amazing work helping our constituents be able to access some of those government services or get the information they need to be able to access those services. So please reach out to my office anytime. We've got a great team here that is always ready to help serve you. We had someone on Facebook ask us about the carbon tax and what can Canadians do to stop the carbon tax. We've brought forward a number of motions in the House of Commons to try to put an end to the carbon tax, or to at least end it for things like farm fuel or home heating or other things. And at the end of the day, we really believe and look at the carbon tax as something that, if it's supposed to be an environmental plan, it has had no impact on the environment. But what it has done is it's made life less affordable for Canadians. So it's not really an environmental plan; it's simply a tax plan. And we don't believe that it should be in place. And so we have very clearly indicated that we would repeal the carbon tax, and we've made a number of attempts to do it. It really comes down to what's going to be required is a change in government. And we need to get rid of the Liberal NDP coalition, and we need to put in place a Conservative government so that we can deal with trying to ensure we take action on climate change by doing it with things like technology and other things like that, rather than taxing people and yet seeing no impact on the environment. So that's the answer on that one. I had a couple different people ask about what will the Conservative Party do to get votes in places where we haven't had enough votes to win seats in the past, whether that be places like the GTA or whether it be the Maritimes or Vancouver area. And this is a really important question, obviously, because I think when we speak to all the different issues that we've talked about already, there really does need to be a change in government. We do need Pierre Poilievre as the Prime Minister. We do need a Conservative government. And so this is a really critical question. And it really comes down to, I think being able to reach out and appeal to people in those areas about the things that matter to them. And so, I think it really comes down to a lot of the same issues that we see everywhere else. It's life is becoming less and less affordable for people. People are concerned about the fact that services the government provides are broken, and so it's really reaching out to people and showing them how we can make a difference in their day-to-day lives. And I really believe and know that we can do that. And so it's finding ways to reach voters. So it's getting out there with your feet on the ground, knocking on doors, bringing that message to people. I know that Pierre Poilievre and many in our Conservative caucus are out in these areas, attending community events, being on local radio stations, talking to local newspapers, and so trying to get that message out to as many people as we can. And that's what we're doing. We're working hard to do just that. And I really believe that it's really resonating. And there seems to be a lot of people that are really paying attention and looking for solutions, and they see them in Pierre Poilievre and in our Conservative Party. So we're really confident going into whenever that election is, and we'll just keep working hard and make sure that Canadians know that we're there for them. And I think that's really what it boils down to. They want someone that they know will be there for them, and that certainly is what Canada's Conservatives are all about. And the last question was probably the most difficult one, really, because it asked, if I had a free day in our communities, what would I do? Where would I go? What would I do? And that's a difficult question to answer for a couple of reasons. First of all, I can't remember the last time I had an entire day just to do whatever I wanted with it. And certainly I love what I do as your representative, and being able to be there to serve your needs and to represent you in Parliament. And so, it's an honor to do it, and I enjoy every minute of it. But the idea of a whole day to myself is something I'm not sure I can remember the last time that happened. But it's also difficult because there's just so many amazing things to do in our communities that make up this riding. And I think about each one of the communities and the unique things that we have. And I think about Airdrie, where we have so many pathways and green spaces and and ponds, and it's so nice to have all those different outdoor recreational opportunities. And think about Cochrane and all the beautiful views, and the fact that you're right there on the doorstep of the mountains, but you're also really close to Calgary. And I think about the world-class hiking and golf courses and skiing that we have through the Bow Valley in Canmore and Banff and in Lake Louise. I think about some of the great things that the Stoney Nakoda First Nation offers as well. There's just so much to do in this constituency that it really would be hard. But I think for me, it all kind of comes down to I enjoy the outdoors. I enjoy sports. I enjoy spending time with my wife and with our dog Ollie, and so I think if I had to think of what would a perfect day by myself look like, I guess I'd want to spend it right here at home in our constituency, and I'd want to travel the constituency from one end to the other and experience some of the great things. And there's so many things I could do, but one of the things would certainly be to make sure that I'm spending time with the people of our area, because that's what makes our area the best of all. But I might start the day in Crossfield and hit up the donut man for a couple of donuts for breakfast, because it's a day I get to do whatever I want, right? So calories don't count. Or maybe I'd stop in at the diner at Shorty's instead and visit my friend Shorty while I'm there. And then I'd probably have to head over to Genesis Place in Airdrie for a workout. That's quite often where I'll head for a workout if I'm not working out from home. But I'd probably have to head there next to work off the donuts. And then you could since you burn some calories, you could find time for lunch. We've got so many great restaurants, in all the communities in our riding. So we could stop at any one of my favorites all across the riding. I think then you'd probably stop somewhere like Glenbow Ranch and maybe go for a little bike ride or a hike. Then maybe head into Cochrane for some McKay's ice cream. And since my wife would be with me, since it's the day I get to do whatever I want, I'd want to spend it with her. We would definitely have to stop and go into some of the shops on Main Street in Cochrane and do a little shopping, because I know she would definitely not let me get away without doing that. I think I would love a little stop, maybe at the Yamnuska Wolf Dog Sanctuary. That would be a great little stop as we headed out towards the mountains, and then once you get to the mountains, I'd love to mountain bike at the Canmore Nordic Center. I could play a round of golf on any one of our world-class golf courses out that way. And I think probably you'd want to end the day. Probably with a stop to stay overnight at either, somewhere like the Post Hotel or the Chateau at Lake Louise. And I guess I'm assuming budget's not an issue here, so I would certainly love to do that. And then you could wake up the next morning and kind of head back the other way and maybe stop at another one of those golf courses and some of the other fine restaurants. And they're just, there you go. Now it's become 2 days, right? So there's just so many wonderful things that there is to do in our communities, and I consider myself incredibly fortunate that I get to serve the people of this area, and I get to spend time in all of our wonderful communities because it really is the best part of the job that I do. So. With that, I'm sure we'll do this again, but Christmas is coming close, and I just want to wish everyone a really Merry Christmas. I hope you all get some time with your friends and family, and you get some time to spend out in our communities and doing some of your favorite things. So wish you a great holiday season and a wonderful new year.